Viewers, please note, we are changing our trade name ZimdiTv to Sly Media TV. Enjoy your viewing.
May you guide, may you direct in a special way today. We ask for every one of these blessings and many more in the name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
And Chancellor of State Universities, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, Honorable Vice President, retired General Chwenga, Honorable Vice President, Comrade Mohadi, Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Professor Amon Murira, Minister of State for Provincial Affairs in Harare Metropolitan Province, Honorable Miriam Chikukwa, and other honorable ministers here present, heads of diplomatic corps, heads of diplomatic missions, the Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet or his representative, and I saw Mr. Hove, the Permanent Secretary for Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, Dr. Svanda, and other heads of ministries here present, Executive Director of Research Council of Zimbabwe, Mrs. Susan Mzite, Governor of the Reserve Bank, if he is here, Dr. Mangunja, the Chairman of the Task Force on Transformation of Higher Education for Industrialization and Modernization, Professor Levi Nyagura, the Chairman of Universities Vice Chancellors Association, Professor Ed Mwenje, and other Vice Chancellors here present, heads of parastatals, principal directors, directors in public service, principals of polytechnics, teachers, and Chancellor of state universities, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, Honorable Vice President, retired General Chiwenga, Honorable Vice President, Comrade Mohadi, Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Professor Amon Murira, Minister of State for Provincial Affairs in Harare Metropolitan Province, Honorable Miriam Chikukwa,
Professor Ngwawi Bebe, Your Excellency, the President and Chancellor of State Universities, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, the Honorable Vice President, Retired General Chiwenga, the Honorable Vice President, Kwembo Mohadi, the Minister of my ministry, the Minister of State for Provincial Affairs, Harare Metropolitan Province, Secretary's representative, Mr. Obe, the permanent secretaries from all government ministries represented here, the Executive Director of the Research Council of Zimbabwe, Mrs. Susan Muzite, Dr. Mangunja, the Chairman of the Task Force on Transformation and Modernization, Professor Nyagura, the Chairman of Zimbabwe University's Vice Chancellor Association, Professor Edi Mwenje, and other Vice Chancellors here present. This half-day meeting is meant to promote government, universities, collaboration in the field of research aimed at growing the economy. This is in line, Your Excellency, with the vision which you encapsulated during your inauguration. This is meant to hit the ground running by ensuring that universities and research institutions in Zimbabwe contribute to economic growth by conducting high-impact research programs that influence the formulation and implementation of public policies. As we are aware, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the President has enunciated a robust economic growth strategy encapsulated in his inauguration statement. Pursuant to this trajectory, the Ministry, in tandem with this 100-day action plan, has organized this meeting, which seeks to achieve a number of objectives which I'm going to detail. First, it is meant to stimulate economic growth anchored on well-researched national programs and policies. You agree with me, ladies and gentlemen, that economic growth has been a problem, not only in Zimbabwe, but in many African countries over the years. Hence, at the core of the presidential inauguration statement is the need to grow the economy through science, research, and technology. We need universities to assist in quality growth that is not based on the export of raw unprocessed commodities, but that increase the ratio of manufactured goods over our gross domestic product. Secondly, this meeting is to provide a forum for His Excellency the President, meet the Vice Chancellors, and institutions of higher learning to appreciate the university's contribution to growing the economy. Vice Chancellors, Your Excellency, have been working on plans to jumpstart the growth of the economy. They will, during this meeting, elucidate what they've been doing in terms of achieving the 100-day plan. Thirdly, this meeting is to reaffirm the primacy of universities and research institutions as key agents of economic growth. This meeting wants to put universities and institutions as the foundation of growing the economy and reassuring all stakeholders present, from industry, from government, from NGOs, and all sectors, that our universities would like to partner with them in developing our country. Fourthly, this meeting will provide a forum for the new Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development to articulate the new vision of the ministry and the role he expects the universities and institutions of higher education to play in achieving the economic turnaround program. Fifthly, this institution will provide, formally and informally, a forum for the exchange of ideas and experiences between government, industry, and universities of research and other educational programs aimed at growing the economy in terms of the new dispensation. This is the reason why we have a cross-section of stakeholders invited to participate in this meeting. And sixthly, this meeting would like to underscore the need for our universities and higher institutions of learning to conduct what my honorable minister calls programmatic research that develop the economy, boost human skills and technological capabilities, and promote economic growth. The need for Zimbabwe to industrialize and modernize its economy through research will be key in this meeting. We need universities and institutions of higher learning to proffer to government evidence-based policy recommendations. At the same time, universities expect fiscal and policy support for them to perform efficiently and effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, I hope I've done justice to the objectives of this meeting. I want to thank you, Master of Ceremony.
Your Excellency, the President and Chancellor of State Universities, Comrade Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, on behalf of the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, allow me, sir, to welcome you and thank you most sincerely for gracing this occasion. It shall never be taken for granted, and we feel highly honored. The Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development's key mandate, as you know, is to train and develop skilled personnel and promote science and technology development in Zimbabwe, aiming at driving industrialization and the modernization agenda. We know that since independence in 1980, Zimbabwe has seen rapid transformation of the education sector that saw the establishment of current 12 state universities and other private universities. However, it is important to note that this expansion has not been accompanied by a similar programmatic approach in research that is based on national priority. We are always saying and following your leadership in a programmatic approach to research. There are end products inside. Basically, no confusion. We have to be on target. The issue basically is that we cannot be going to school for going to school's sake. We have to show something for it. We have to show how the worth of our investment. Gowns are nice, certificates are nice, but if those certificates are not represented in the brain, it means we will be where we started. So we are basically saying literacy is fine, but it's just a precondition of things to come. Yes, we can read and write letters, but at the end of the day, we need goods and services. I think the time for feel-good mentality is gone. We have to challenge ourselves to grow the economy. Cognizance of Your Excellency's clarion call to grow the economy and incorporate elements of the market economy in which enterprise is allowed, encouraged, and protected. The nation must now, therefore, follow a radical and programmatic approach to the application of science and technology to realize a turnaround of the economy in the shortest possible time. Just to illustrate a very simple point, if I have got my phone here sometimes and you break it, I will definitely cry because I'm taking it as a piece of plastic and an asset. But if the chief executive of this company, which made this phone, has his phone broken, he will go back to the document that produced this phone and he will produce many of them. So it's time to realize that the phone is not a piece of plastic and electronics. The phone is in the brain. The phone is in the head. And we are saying at the universities, it's now time to transform that brain into goods and services. And through your leadership, Your Excellency, you have allowed us to have several programs that include the setup of innovation centers at universities. That will definitely be the ones that are centers that are the bridge between knowledge and industry. It's nice to say, of course, as I said before, we are very literate and so forth, but we should not rest. We should use that literacy for development. Among all the programs include the skills audit, which was last done in 1984, and we are now going to do it this year in the next 100 days. We are also going to ensure that there's a framework for Zimbabwe to enter the space age by giving Zimbabwe space science capability, and also implement programs that lead to development in several areas. We are also, through your leadership, going to make sure that we train science teachers so that we basically improve the quality of our science teaching. At the same time, we are committing that every student that is able to go to a tertiary institution and a university and who have passed and have got requisite qualifications, we make efforts to make sure that we will have a 20% increase in the intake this year, just to make sure that we don't deserve people on the street that are qualified to be in the universities. As well, we are committed, as to your direction, Your Excellency, that private public sector partnerships and build, operate and transfer projects are going to be adopted at universities so that we build accommodation for our students. We build infrastructure for learning space. We are saying to the business community, take this opportunity. We are not prepared to be receiving fees that should be building infrastructure. We are saying build the infrastructure, collect the fees until your money is done, and you have your profit and you leave us with our infrastructure. At the same time, we have had calls of polytechnics and teachers' colleges trying to offer degrees. We are saying, no, you remain doing what you are doing, but we are going to enable progression through the National Qualifications Framework Program, such that if one is interested in going to university from a technical college, you can always go through a pathway. Polytechnics and teachers' colleges were never created by mistake, and universities were never created by mistake. I think the time for silos is gone, as you said, Your Excellency. And with these few remarks, I will leave this time to the Chancellor himself, after he has been introduced, to actually say his points. This is his day with his Vice-Chancellors. So I will not try to go any further. Siyabonga, tatenda. Thank you very much.
It's working. 1, 2.
Tikwidze maoko edu kwa muri shumba murambwi kwa ziwai mutsika panyoro mwana wa Chibi moro ibumi vamari vokwanyanungwe kwazivaikani mukwevera kwasviba maoko edu kwamuri vabaradzanwa kusi redu kwamuri tinokupai kusi redu ekani vanyaningwe takukwazisai vanyaningwe Shibwa garisika yenyu shumba Murambwi garisika ishumba isikai murambwe mazvita
And the other in Masvingo, on the paternal side, the guest speaker, I have the distinct honor and pleasure to call upon, I think requires no introduction. On his mother's side, the Bairahove vechidziva, siziva, span the vast chieftaincies of Chingoma, Mazibofa, Mataruse, Makuerere, while on the father's side, the Chibi Muramwe chiefdom and its agnet houses constitute the most populous royalty in Masvingo province. Yet with such a wealth of precious blue blood, our guest of honor, immense humility forbids him from boasting about his royal birth. Choosing to live, as it were, up to Chinua Achebe's aphorism, a tiger does not declare its tigritude. In the last few days, our guest of honor has been at the helm of our nation and government. He has demonstrated unparalleled self-discipline, to be a man of action, a visionary, and a strategic thinker. Some of these personal qualities and attributes translate into coming very early to work, leaving very late from work, working during weekends and working during holidays. A work ethic, I think, which you have seen also, is also characteristic of the First Lady. Both are seized with a sense of agency. They are anxious to see efficient, timely, and effective delivery of services to our people, whether they be rich, poor, or disabled. Our guest of honor's vision is to resuscitate our economy. His ambition is to see our young men and women fully employed either as employees or as self-employed autonomous entrepreneurs. As a strategic planner, he wants to see all our national energies, be they intellectual, physical, or natural, all mobilized and marshaled towards getting our economy, or the economy of our motherland, going again. Without wishing to steal the wind out of the sails of our guest speaker, please allow me to enjoy the distinct honor and pleasure, singular pleasure, to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, and Chancellor of State universities, E.D. Mnangagwa.
Pray, be seated. Our Director of Ceremonies, Professor Ngwabi Bebe. I was wondering whether they were speaking about me. The Minister of State for Provincial Affairs for Harare Metropolitan Province, Honorable Miriam Chukukwa. My host, the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, Professor Amon Murwira. Honorable Ministers here present, honorable members of Parliament who are here, the Chief Secretary to the President Cabinet, Dr. Swanda, as represented, members of the Diplomatic Corps who are here, the Governor of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, Thank you. The Governor of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, Dr. John Mangunja, His Worship the Mayor of the City of Harare, Councillor Manyenyeni, Chairperson of the Zimbabwe Council of Higher Education, Professor Ngwabi Bebe, senior government officials who are here, Chairperson of Zimbabwe University's Vice Chancellors Association, Professor Edi Mwenje, and other Vice Chancellors who are present, heads of higher and tertiary learning institutions, captains of industry and commerce, members of the academia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. It is with great pleasure and honor that I address you at this inaugural meeting with University Vice Chancellors, heads of higher and tertiary learning institutions, and members of the academia in general. I commend the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development for organizing this timely gathering, especially as it comes on the backdrop of the current impetus by my administration to accelerate economic revival and growth for the socio-economic transformation of our great nation. The academia and institutions of higher learning are torchbearers in teaching and learning, research and development in our quest for an industrialized, growing economy and empowered society. To this end, they impart new knowledge and skills needed to meet the multifaceted opportunities and challenges of development. Relevant, informed research and development initiatives raise public awareness and set guidelines for informed business decision-making, responsible entrepreneurial behavior, as well as impacting on rational consumer choices. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, since independence, the government has adopted policies that have resulted in the massive expansion of the education arena under both the private and public sectors. Over the years, our education system has been a force to reckon with in Africa. However, I exhort us to continually introspect and ask ourselves whether our education sector has done enough to provide solutions to our myriad challenges and equally maximize on all available opportunities in our country. The education system is the pillar for the incubation of fundamental solutions to our nation. Institutions of higher learning should not be satisfied with a very high literacy rate or about many graduates who have passed through their gates. They should instead harness their collective skills and intellectual capacity within their respective institutions to develop our beloved country. Education should be productive, it should be responsive and relevant to the society's needs for present and future generations. The pursuit for industrialization and economic growth in Zimbabwe demands us to think creatively and positively about the manufacturing sector, value addition and beneficiation, import substitution and export promotion, development of small and medium-sized enterprises, retail, wholesale, distribution and customer service processes, competitiveness in the global markets, and economic integration in the region. Institutions of higher learning should also recognize agricultural sector and agro-based value chain industries as an integral part of our economy. Equally, they have a leading role in shaping the economy through science and technology by being the test beds of innovation and educating future generations. To that end, an imperative question is to be asked regarding how higher education institutions fit in our mode for industrialization and international trade policies. I therefore exhort local universities to establish academic synergies with industry, commerce, and other renowned international universities or centers of academic excellency to boost their capacity in research and technology development through academic cooperation. Institutions of higher learning should thrive to be technology incubation centers where innovations can originate. It is also fundamental for us to begin to reward those who would have put effort in creativity and innovation. They should be encouraged, recognized through awards, prizes, as well as the requisite protection of their intellectual property. In this regard, I exhort the Ministry of Justice, and the Minister is here, the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, to ensure that copyrights, patents, and other and all other rights of inventors, innovators, scientists, and technologists are fully protected. More concerted efforts must be made to fight against piracy. This vice dampens the spirit of innovation and creativeness. Educational institutions further play a key role in the preservation and promotion of culture and ethical values of society. The leaders of a country are a product of the educational system in which they grew up and were nurtured. The phenomenon of corruption thrives in a society where people readily forego what is true and good in exchange for selfish interest and expedient and scrupulous acquired wealth. Higher learning institutions should shun and abhor corruption, nepotism, and bribery in teaching, research, and management of all affairs within our learning institutions. Deplorable, corrupt, and immoral tendencies that have seen undeserving students getting passes must stop. Our children, both male and female alike, should not be subjected to abuse in whatever form for marks or higher grades. Learners must be free to report any cases of corruption without fear or favor. And perpetrators should be brought to book. It is incumbent upon us all as the key personnel in our educational institutions to ensure the integrity of our educational system remains intact. The values of honesty, transparency, accountability, responsiveness, and the high standards of professional ethics must be promoted, inculcated and maintained throughout every level, from the learners to the top administrators within our educational institutions countrywide. Government remains concerned with the moral decadence and associated health risks to learners within our institutions. This situation cannot be allowed to continue unchecked. Real men do not prowl our university campuses and take advantage of young girls' socio-economic background to abuse them in whatever form or style. The role of universities in the preservation of national identity, cultural heritage, and the moral societal fiber cannot be overemphasized. I thus exhort all higher learning institutions to endeavor to protect, promote, and preserve these cultural values and practices which enhance the dignity, well-being, and equality of Zimbabweans as enshrined in our Constitution. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my government, despite the many compelling obligations, pledges to continue looking at the welfare of institutions of higher learning. Over the years, government has made strides to continue paying salaries and allowances despite the limited fiscal space. However, universities need to also think strategically on how to use their meager resources to offer new products and services to the academic community. It is no longer an option to keep doing things the old way. Innovation and accepting change are now prerequisite for survival. Institutions of higher learning should strive to improving learning conditions for students through availing of decent and adequate accommodation, building of well-resourced libraries with latest books and journals. There is need for well-equipped laboratories and establishment of vibrant research and technology development centers. We look upon institutions of higher learning to lead in research to produce a qualitative and technological edge product, thereby supporting our agricultural sector and agro-based industries through production of new seed varieties, adoption of water harvesting technologies for irrigation development, and adoption of new farming methods. Gone are the days for universities to be famous or pride themselves in how many years they have existed or how many graduates they have rolled out. Altering higher education is more necessary than ever before. I have enunciated my government's vision on the role that we expect universities to play in the new economic transformation. I'm glad that my new Minister of Higher Education is quite open to new ideas. As I've said, I have enunciated my government's vision on the role that we expect universities to play in the new economic transformation, modernization, and industrialization agenda. Allow me to take this opportunity to emphasize that this vision is not only about talk, but is fully supported by my government ministries. Recently, the two ministries of higher education and finance and economic development issued a joint statement on private sector investment in accommodation and learning facilities for the benefit of students and the staff at tertiary institutions. Therefore, not only will resources be availed through public-private partnerships, PPs, and build, operate and transfer bot, but all the necessary support from various relevant ministries and government departments will be availed. I also urge the local corporate world, civil society organizations, rural and urban councils, and those in the diaspora to partner government and universities in this academic transformative agenda. After all, captains of industry and commerce are the immediate beneficiaries of a skilled workforce rolled from these higher learning institutions. Let us invest in our labor force as captains of industry. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, institutions of higher learning should explore new ways to provide quality teaching through balanced lecturer-students ratio and adherence to laid out undergraduate and postgraduate admission policies. Democratization and mass recruitment of students should be done in a manner which doesn't compromise the quality of graduates. You may want many students to have lots of school fees, but most important from a government point of view is the quality of the product which you produce.
Your views and comments are welcome on the program. Remember to like our Facebook page and our YouTube channel and be the first to see as it happens. Watching TV on the go. Sly Media TV. Building bridges.
In community developmental projects, as well as offering policy advice to the central and local government. They can reach out to communities and use them as laboratories to test ideas and find better ways to achieve social and economic goals. Gone are the days where every activity is academic. I'll tell you a story without giving names. We had two very important citizens. One was an academic, the other was a wise village head. There was a stack of bricks at this place, 100 meters away. There was a foundation to build a house. Then the two were asked to proceed to have the house built. The academic, the professor, decided to go for evaluation. To find out feasibility study. How to move 100,000 bricks 100 meters away to build a house. He had to assess if you were to use wheelbarrows, how many wheelbarrows to use, and each wheelbarrow, how many runs would it make? If it's a truck, what size of truck and how many trips? Then once the bricks are at site, what grade of a builder should build the house, and how many bricks would be laid per day, and when would it finish? The village head quickly got a wheelbarrow and began moving bricks to the site. He never counted how many times he went. As the bricks arrived at the site, the builder was beginning to build. By the time the feasibility study was finished, the village head had finished building the house. So we want now our universities to blend the wisdom of the academic professor and the wisdom of the villager. Let us innovate our way to economic competitiveness in this new socio-economic political dispensation. We need to master and bring to the labor market the knowledge, expertise, high-value goods and services that middle-class societies will seek and will need and use in the years ahead. There should be backward and forward linkages between industry, commerce, and the academia to avoid the skills job mismatch. I therefore urge members of the academia, researchers, scientists, economists, captains of industry and commerce to begin to engage to ensure that skills required by industry are the ones taught at our various colleges and universities. Our curriculum or course content should be continuously be reviewed to meet industrial needs and expectations. We can no longer afford to train just for the sake of training. It is therefore my fervent hope that using the capabilities in various disciplines in all our learning institutions, we should be able to develop technical and managerial skills, which speaks to the identified deficiencies in both private and public sectors of our economy. With commendable teamwork, team spirit, and a unity of purpose, we can achieve bigger and better things through our institutions of higher learning. It is my hope that you will commit yourselves to the nation's new vision of economic transformation, modernization, and industrialization. You will improve service delivery in all universities and training institutions, both state and private, as adopted by my government. We are building a new, democratic, and prosperous Zimbabwe, and we want everybody on board. I shall soon have a meeting with our students from institutions of higher learning to listen to their challenges and needs. As we approach the forthcoming 2018 harmonized general elections, I'm fully aware that universities and colleges are launch pads for political movements, with the students adding their voices to the political discourse. That is welcome. However, my message is that in all our political endeavors and maneuvers, let us resolve to remember that we are one family. What unites us as Zimbabweans is greater than anything that could divide us. We are one people, united by our flag, our national anthem, and indeed by our national ethos, such as by our late Vice President John Como, who said, "Peace begins with me, peace begins with you, and the peace begins with all of us." With peace and tranquility in our country, we can have meaningful development. Free, fair, and credible elections are inevitable when we refrain from political violence and reject those who preach division, intolerance, and those whose politics seek to perpetuate the suffering of our people. Together, with your support, we will create a prosperous Zimbabwe. Ndatenda siyabonga. I thank you.
Your views and comments are welcome on the program. Remember to like our Facebook page and our YouTube channel and be the first to see as it happens. Watching TV on the go. ZimdiTv, building bridges. Viewers, please note, we are changing our trade name ZimdiTv to Sly Media TV. Enjoy your viewing.